Welcome to the Geopolitical Patriots. Tonight we're going to have a very, very unique podcast. And I'm going to show you a variety of views of exactly what exactly is going on in the United States with the Trump election. The first question that the people are asking is why Donald Trump won this election? This is the topic of this collective hysteria, panic, and for a few, a motive to engage in a reflection and introspection. This is what we will be discussing here in this podcast today or tonight, depending upon when you're going to be able to see this. But let's gonna start by watching a small clip of a young girl called Misha Petrov, because she can articulate the situation as from the women perspective much better than I can do myself. Let's look at what she can say now.
We did it. We did it. Give me a high five. Good job. Listen, whether you stood in line and voted, or spoke out with friends or family or online, because let's face it, that's not always the easiest thing to do. Every bit of effort counted. That's what helped bring this moment to life. I'm so proud of us. Good job, America. We have to get into the aftermath because the liberal meltdowns are already in full swing. Now remember, a lot of these people are the same ones who wish the absolute worst on Trump, wishing that the assassination attempts were successful. The compassionate left. They're sad. And to any Kamala voters who are watching right now, I want you to take a deep breath. We're going to be taking a look at your concerns, and we're going to be speaking about women's rights. Don't worry, we will address this, because already I'm seeing so many comments on women's posts where they're saying that they're happy about Trump winning, that they voted for Trump. Do you not know you're a woman? Do you not realize that your rights have just been taken away? But first, grab your popcorn. We're going to take a look at these very emotional reactions to Trump winning. This constant talk about diversity. If you want true diversity, look no further than the Trump supporters. The numbers of Hispanic voters, Black voters, Asian voters, LGBTQ voters. We're going to take a look at all this, but I'm seeing it all. Look at this. Goodbye, reproductive freedom. Hello, dictator. We already had him as president. You may remember. He was not a dictator. We actually, kept having elections. We were fine. Yeah, we were way better before the Biden-Harris administration. Goodbye, outstanding role model. Who's your outstanding role model? Lying Kamala.
You did, thank you.
Have you seen her interviews? Have you heard her policy? I don't understand. Do these people just watch the coconut brat edits all day on TikTok? Oh, role model woman, huh? You need to reevaluate a lot of things if Kamala Harris is your role model. My heart goes out to all women, POC, LGBTQIA+, and everyone else that Trump targets. You need to leave your bubble. You need to look at all kinds of content, which I try to do, which everyone should try to do, okay? You take a look at what the left is saying, you take a look at what the right is saying.
I will do everything in my power to protect our LGBTQ citizens from the violence and oppression of a hateful foreign ideology.
And most importantly, in this case, you have to take a look at what Trump is saying and compare the state of our country when he was president already, or when Kamala was vice president along with Sleepy Joe. You compare it a bit instead of painting yourself out to be the victim 24/7. Seeing the election results, and now suddenly life feels significantly less worth living. Relax. God forbid, prices of gas and groceries will be cheaper. Oh, the horror. The president, Senate, and House are all going Republican. Sorry. I'm so happy. To anyone who voted that disgusting man, you have failed every single woman of America. You have failed every person of color in America. You have failed anyone who isn't a rich white man. So sad. Next.
I can't do this anymore. I'm literally sick. I'm literally sick to my stomach. What has happened to America? What has happened to democracy? What has happened to freedom?
I'm done.
No! 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 Why?
With all this talk about about women's rights, right? The left really cares about women's rights. Let's talk about women's rights. Is it protecting women's rights by allowing biological men into women's spaces, into the bathroom, into the changing room, beating them up at sporting events? No. The answer is no if you have a brain. And my friend, listen to me. If you think that these kinds of people actually care about women's rights and women's safety, think again, okay? Because you can go on X, you can go on Reddit, you can go into these online spaces, and you will see a very common theme. So if someone voted for Trump, and they're a woman, or they have women in their lives, this is a common thing. Well, hope you get raped, let's say. I hope you get assaulted, or I hope a woman you know gets assaulted, and that you'll have to have the baby, because that's what you're voting for, right? First of all, you are psychotic. I hope you get the help you need.
I think if you voted for Donald Trump, you're ugly. I think you're all freaking ugly, and I think you're dumb as bricks. And I think you're a bigot in every sense of the word, every use of the word. I also not only won't care when all the bad stuff that's gonna happen happens to you, I actually want it to happen to you. I want your taxes to go up. I want things to be more expensive for you. I want you to have a complicated pregnancy. I want all that bad stuff to happen to you because that's what you deserve. Also, like, the only silver lining is it's actually going to suck for all you Trump voters way more than it's going to suck for us blue voters, because we actually have educations and good jobs. It's really going to suck for you when he raises your taxes a ton.
It's the fact that your argument is so weak, you have to resort to that. Again, if you take a look at what Trump actually believes, he's actually in favor of those exceptions.
I believe in the exceptions for incest and the life of the mother. I think it's very important.
Wishing grape?
People, this is just to give you an idea of the hysteria after Donald Trump successfully landslide that took a lot of people off guard. But that's not all. Just to give you a clue or a perspective of the reality of what exactly is going on and why Donald Trump won this election. Just let's take a look in the past, about 2.5, 3 years at the beginning of Biden administration, and look at this clip, and that will start to spark the reason for which all these complexities of social meltdown came into place. Just watch this.
Trans rights. There have been many anti-LGBTQ+ bills introduced and enacted, outlawing things like gender-affirming healthcare and banning kids from playing sports. To go deeper into this issue, here with us today is Dylan Mulvaney, who's welcomed us into her life by, showing on social media her Girlhood series. Let's take a look.
My name is Dylan Mulvaney. I am a trans woman, and I am documenting my transition publicly on TikTok for the world to see. When people started watching and the numbers kept getting higher, I realized quickly how public my transition would be. Of course, I knew that there would be backlash and negativity. I try to not let the internet's words hurt me or my spirit. But do you know what does hurt? Seeing people in power and authority figures creating laws and bills that are actively trying to harm us trans humans, especially trans children. Our lives have become political talking points. Lawmakers in many states want to exclude us from participating in sports or getting proper health care. Some folks want to decide where we can use the bathroom. No one should have fear living in a state that they call home while being true to themselves. No one should have their lives put in danger because of who they are inside. That's why I'm sharing my story with the world. I'm using my platform to stand up for my community and for any of the little Dylans that deserve a clear path to their true identity.
Mr. President, this is my 221st day of publicly transitioning.
God love it.
Thank you. I am extremely privileged to live in a state that allows me access to the resources I need, and that decision is just between me and my doctors. But many states have lawmakers that feel like they can involve themselves in this very personal process. Do you think states should have a right to ban gender-affirming health care?
I don't think any state or anybody should have the right to do that. As a moral question and as a legal question. I just think it's wrong. I think I was saying before we started that my deceased son, used to be the Attorney General of the state of Delaware. He passed the broadest piece of legislation that he, as Attorney General, was able to convince the legislature and the governor to sign that dealt with all gender-affirming capability. I mean, there's a lot of You sometimes they try to block you from being able to access certain medicines, being able to access certain procedures, and so on. None of that should be available. I mean, no state should be able to do that, in my view. So I feel very, very strongly that that you should have every single solitary right, including use of your gender identity bathrooms in public.
Thank you. Thank you. And
that's one of the many situations for which we had the reality of the convolution of different forces that engage at the same time to provoke the landslide of Donald Trump. This is just a tiny example, but it's more complicated than this. The first was the engagement of Biden administration in the woke culture, and we have to explain that in detail. And I'm sorry if I have to make sure that my data is correct, because I don't want to say something that is not accurate. The Biden administration engaged in this woke culture from the beginning. Culture or subculture, it could be either way, and forcing the rest of the population to follow this trend established by the Democratic Party from the beginning, whether you like it or not. And for me, that sounds very dictatorial with sugarcoating. The embracement also, something that is part of the Biden administration, the embracement of this transgenderism. We're not talking now about the LGBT, we're talking about transgenderism. Man that wants to be a woman or transferred to a woman by hormones and mutilation of their organs, etc. The embracement of transgenderism in all of the different modalities, and I mention that because it's not one size fits all. This has been something that has been developed by the Biden administration in layers. They start with the adults, then they start going down. The problem is that this transgenderism in all the different modalities strike a shock to the rest of the population. We're going again, the reason for which Donald Trump won. Especially when those policies were designed to only 1% of the total population, and we're not talking about the LGBT, talking about the total United States population. The LGBT is separate because transgender, even though it's part of the LGBT community, is even a smaller section of that group of the LGBT. People don't realize sometimes that. So, the tendency of forcing to accept the men transgender in women bathroom, as Misha Petrov mentioned, in lockers room, in high school, in universities, was not well taken by other part of the society. In other words, even though that you said that you're a transgender woman, but you have a penis, and you're going to the locker room or the bathroom, or my 14, 15, 16-year-old girl, daughter, or granddaughter, no, that, from my view, that's not acceptable. Same thing, if you're a woman and you think that you're a man and you're going to men's bathroom, but don't complain. The reality is that it's not good. But it doesn't stop that. To make it worse, the modality of forcing young children under 16 to mutilate their gender because they want to be a member of the other sex was an addendum of this woke subculture laid down by the Biden administration. And I just wanted to play another section to prove the point in regard to this, and I'm going to present this clip for you to see.
Some girls like catching snakes. The Soji curriculum started in British Columbia in 2016 and is quickly spreading throughout Canada.
I just thought, who decided that this was okay to teach our children?
Author and inspirational speaker Laura Lynn Tyler Thompson is a leading voice against the Soji curriculum.
And we are seeing the results of that now, because some kids are reacting very emotionally and saying, and they're in fear. Will I suddenly struggle with feeling like a different gender inside of my body?
Carrie Simpson of Culture Guard, another leading opponent, calls the curriculum nothing short of child abuse.
All those beautiful qualities that make young girls, beautiful girls and women, are being basically vilified. The things that make our boys boys are being, taken from them. So things of equating young men to being strong protectors is something that's now evil.
But Morgan Auger, a transsexual and supporter, claims it's about acceptance, not indoctrination.
The idea is to teach kids that there are gay kids and there are trans kids and there are trans parents and gay parents in our society, and everybody's wanted and desired. After all, that's what our human rights code says, and it's the role of schools to teach the following of our laws, right?
Simpson disagrees, saying she sees Soji's real goal as
altering our culture from a heteronormative society into one where anything goes, no boundaries, no values, no morals. It's a hedonistic cult, basically, what they're implying.
Another blaring example, drag queen story time. It's happening in Canada and America, where some public schools and libraries invite drag queens, some dressed like torn demons, to read to young children.
And it's a social deconstructionist agenda. They're using children, little 5-year-olds, to accomplish this, and parents are waking up and saying no.
When asked about parents' rights, Auger says,
well, actually in Canada, parents' rights are limited and children's rights are put ahead. So the child has the right to be protected from the parents when the parents behave badly.
Canada is known as one of the most gay-friendly countries in the world, with many of their largest cities featuring their own gay villages, like here in Vancouver, which has literally rolled out the Rainbow Road. Most gays, like village resident Dave Davy DiCarlo, support Soji and limiting parental rights.
The change that we have to see is sometimes the parents, and the kids are doing actually really okay.
This is very scary stuff.
Longtime Vancouver area pastor Kevin Kavanaugh says this is far more serious than most Canadian Christians realize.
Our problem is not the teachers, the educators, the administrators. This is a battle in the heavenlies.
He says Satan is going after their most vulnerable, the children.
And the little girl came home in tears because the teacher had told her, since she was playing with some toys in the class that were deemed to be masculine in nature, that she was likely a boy in a girl's body. The mother went to the school the very next day, and instead of having any sort of tolerance or support or understanding, she was actually called names. She was told that she was a homophobe, that she was a bigot.
With that in mind, Tyler Thompson, Simpson, and Pastor Kevin are spreading their message across social media and in town hall meetings. The pro-gay backlash has
the
been...
problem is, the same thing happened here in the United States. This is just a small clip of Canada. But that doesn't mean that it's not happening here in the United States. Of course it's happening in the United States as well. But it's worse than that. This is a plan. This is a psychological, almost a military plan in multi-layers that was established since 1920, maybe perhaps even before that. Because when Biden administration took over, that plan was already in the books. They just need the power to implement what they were planning to do. But not enough. This diabolical octopus coming from the Democratic Party is not limited to the Democratic Party as well. This DEI, the Soros Foundation, the WHO, the World Health Organization, the World Economic Organization, the World Health Organization and Economic Organization, the Deep State, the Military Industrial Complex, the Pharmaceutical Industrial Complex, and others engage together, all these entities and others engage to collide together like termites that enter into a structure slowly. Termites are very small insect. Start getting in the structural, in the wood or any kind of structure to destroy whatever they have access to from within. That's the enemy from within that Donald Trump was referring to. He was not talking about the people that are with values and principles and law-abiding citizens. No, he's talking about the people that wants to destroy our society in the way it is. But they try to take him, out of his word, out of context, to make him vilify, to make him be like a bad person, when Donald Trump is the opposite. He's a billionaire that just does not need to be engaged in politics. He have enough resources to be doing whatever he wants by himself. He doesn't need that. He's doing that because he wanted to serve the country. He wants to serve the country. He wants to leave a legacy of doing good. He's a billionaire. He can keep doing millions and investment in different places. What do you think that Elon Musk is with him? He's another millionaire. The owner of Tesla. Starlink. Actually, Elon Musk donated to the PAC of Donald Trump $75 million to help him out in the election. And all these government entities like the DOJ, the FBI, and all these agencies have been weaponized to destroy or prevent Donald Trump to become the next president of the United States. This is a witch hunt that has been against him from the beginning. While some of these entities were working at the social level, when we're talking about entities, in reality we're talking about individuals among organizations. It could be an organization, an entity, it could be an individual. Some of these individuals and organizations works at different levels. Some of them works in the social level, which is media and social activities. Others work in the CDC, Center for Disease Control, and others in the DOD. This is in military terms or military doctrine. This is an attack in all fronts, and that was the plan, to be able to take the social in one side, the Center for Disease Control, which is the pharmaceutical industrial complex, and then the DOD, the military industrial complex, all attacking the citizens of the United States in this evil agenda to destroy the family, which is the first institution of all civilizations in history, by allowing males to marriage with another man, or women with a woman, or a man with two women or two men. The confusion of something that is above and beyond what is part of the traditional conservative principles and Christian principles established in the Bible. Because if you don't believe me, it's clearly in the Bible that a man will not lay with another man and a woman will not lay with another woman. So whoever, pastor in any church or minister, that tells you the opposite is an evil person that is not going according to the doctrine in the Bible. I can say that pastor or reverend is an antichrist, because he's going against the reality of the doctrine that is in the Bible. In this case, on the social side, was the push of the drag queens that you saw in the clip before, to children in school and social activities and celebrations, like it was something fun, like Santa Claus. Oh, let's go and see the drag queen. I remember seeing a video clip in one occasion. There was a reporter who was trying to take a video of a celebration, birthday or something in California. And a mother that had their children there watching this drag queen pushed this reporter out, videographer, out of this room because he was not invited to be there. And you saw in that video, I'm sorry that I don't have the clip to show it to you, many parents allowing those drag queens, like if it was something fun for the children, to create more confusion. Parents are supposed to protect their children, not to become an addendum in this crisis, in this social crisis, to destroy childhood on children by allowing deviant behavior to overcome and dominate the reality. You have the push of drag queens and children in school, in social activities, and then later, Biden administration, the Democratic Party, start doing the castration and mutilation of boys and girls, even when the parents are supposed to protect it. If a parent was supposed to protect it, like you heard in that video from before, right? That they will take away the authority of the parent if they oppose of anything that will be done to the child. So if you have a 10-year child that wants to castrate himself, the school have the responsibility, according to this, to not inform the parent. So you not inform the parent, right? That's fantastic. So what if the child change his mind 5-10 years after? Who's going to be responsible for that? We are in a very sick society, and we're allowing people with authority to do things to our children that is not acceptable. In court, we call standing. If you don't have certain age and you need to go to court, you need to be a certain age. Normally it's 18 years and above when you become an adult, to have a trial and have the standing. If you're a minor, then you go to a minor court. How come for some things you're not allowed at 10 or 12, but for something like this, our society and our government, especially in California and New York and Illinois, allow this aberration of destroying children? Remember, if anyone that is listening to this, remember what Jesus said. Yeshua said that whoever do harm to those little kids will pay a higher price. And it's better to put a rope and throw it with a rock in the lake and kill himself than do harm to these little kids. I'm paraphrasing, not exactly in those words, but you get the point that even a Christian that is supposed to be a Christian, not in words, but in actions, should not be allowing this. This is detriment, not only to the child, not only to the community, but the whole society. And still people are wondering why and how it's possible that Donald Trump won this election and have this landslide. You're having, slowly, in this podcast, the answer for that question. About the CDC. We all know Dr. Anthony Fauci, author of the creation of the global pandemic hysteria with Bill Gates. This went as far as forcing the military personnel to have non-tested try out the COVID vaccine or injection. They was authorized by the Food and Drug Administration without being tested, without being proved that there will be no harm by having that, because it was an emergency, because it was a pandemic. So it was authorized to be used by the population. But in the military, the DoD authorized and forced military personnel to have this non-tested tryout of the mRNA injection. There were several military personnel that refused to take the injection of the COVID-19. And they were punished by the DoD. Some of them were suspended, and the majority of them expelled. Donald Trump said that he will take these people back in service with back pay as soon as he gets in power. But this is the weaponization of an untested new medication among the military. Some were de facto eliminated, and the others injected with something that even today nobody knows exactly what is inside. In the messenger RNA. We know now that there was an increase in ovarian dysfunction because there was a congressional hearing. Matt Gaetz was interviewing people that I will later on put in the lower section the exact address for this congressional hearing. But Matt Gaetz was doing some interviews to some people in congressional hearings, and he found that the military knew about some of these side effects of the injection, but they cannot have statistics in this hearing whether the disease was worse than the injection or the injection was worse than the disease. But what happened is that there was an increase after they had the injection of ovarian dysfunction among service members, pulmonary embolism, myocarditis, and there are other sources that can say that the vaccine was worse than the disease. I have members of my family. I have a granddaughter that had COVID-19. It was 3 days that she was like in a very strong cold. And she went through. And she didn't have the vaccine. Now she had natural immunization. Nobody's talking about the natural immunization. But in medical school, people study that natural immunization is one of the best things that you can have. But the problem is that in this case, we are relying upon the CDC with the big authority. They know better than anybody else. We, the citizens, know nothing. But who's behind Fauci? The lab over there in China, in which he invested money? There is a lot of conflict of interest, and the people are not open their eyes and clear the ear to make sure that they can hear that Fauci is a corrupted member of the CDC. Was because he resigned. He was part of this masterpiece plan. And then, in the top of that, you have the DoD affecting the military personnel. When they realized that those plans did not work, because they did the social, they did the CDC, they did the DoD, the majority of the military engaged and got the vaccine. There was pressure in universities to force the deans of universities to put the universities and the students in the university to force them to have the vaccine, or they will not be able to be. They will not be accepted in the classroom. So there was a mandate from the top to bottom to all the institutions, public and private. Not only the DoD, not only the military, but even the educational institutions, whether by accident, de facto, or embedded with these politicians and these institutions like the CDC, the government agencies that were trying to force a mandate that was false. I never had the vaccine. I have pressure by my family, my daughters, and people in my family that they wanted me to have the vaccine. I didn't have the vaccine. I went to Walmart, the Lowe's, to JCPenney's. I traveled 40 miles to go to the mall in Springfield, Missouri. I never had the disease. And I stopped getting the mask 3 weeks after the hysteria, because I realized that there was something behind. There was a conspiracy behind all this, and it was a conspiracy by the deep state, the shadow government, and corrupted politicians. When they realized that those plans didn't work, once I mentioned before, they turned to the last action to try to kill Donald Trump. And that's when these assassination attempts came in place with a poor Secret Service protection. Which is strange, because a former president is entitled to have protection from the Secret Service. What kind of protection had Donald Trump when they put rookie Secret Service men and women, and you can see in the video, the clip, that it was a woman that was even having problem to put the gun in the holster in the day of the assassination attempt in Philadelphia. When you are an experienced agent, and I know that because I was in the military, I was military police, you don't even have to look to put your gun in the holster. You do it automatically, and you take it out automatically. These are few of the many reasons for which the 73 million Americans decided to go along with Donald Trump. And that includes people that were in the left. There were many Democrats that were not in line with this kind of woke ideology and subculture. There were members of the LGBT that were not embedded with this subculture, and they vote for Donald Trump, believe it or not. Then the nation began engaged in a process of lining up to stop not only what we mentioned before, but there is more. People get tired of the inflation. The Biden administration had 4 years, 3.5 years to deal with the basic problems in our society. Inflation, illegal immigration, foreign wars. I'm talking about Ukraine and Russia. That's not our business, but Biden administration make our business. But the nation, the American people, the American citizens, started to line up in a process to stop, because they wanted to stop the inflation. They wanted to stop illegal immigration. They wanted to stop the woke culture. They wanted to stop foreign wars. They wanted to restore family, Christian values and principles. All that under the leadership of Donald Trump. Because Donald Trump promised to the American people that he will fix this. Donald Trump said that he will fix this. And I believe him. Donald Trump is not perfect. He have done things that were categorized like mishap, mistakes. I'm not a judge, character judgment of Donald Trump. That's something between him and his Lord, Yeshua. But today, in the world where we are living, Donald Trump is not perfect. He's not the Messiah. He is not, in my point of view, an idol like The rock stars, people get crazy, whoever the rock star is, and they start raising hands and dancing with the stars. No, Donald Trump, for me, I don't know for other people, but for me, because idolatry is condemned by God. Keep that in mind. Same thing, assassination of babies. It's condemned by God, and you can read that in the Bible, in the Old Testament. Whoever does that, they're not worship God or Jesus or Yeshua. They worship Molech, the god of the Ammonites. But Donald Trump is now an influencer leader who will restore hope, and he's already starting to do that among all the people in the United States. When Donald Trump won the election, the next day the gasoline over here in the city of Lebanon, Missouri, dropped 15 cents. And then a week later, it dropped another 10 cents. Only by Donald Trump winning the election. Coincidence? Perhaps. But I heard that other institutions also start phasing out in the woke culture, taking these rainbow flags out, woke symbolism out of the department stores and different places. They're trying to make it look like they're preparing for the Christmas season, and they're changing to adapt to the holidays that are coming. That's another thing. In the past, you never mentioned Merry Christmas. You have Happy Holidays. But now, Merry Christmas is coming back again, because many institutions, now that Donald Trump won the election, are beginning to go back to the old traditions. People of the United States, Donald Trump will restore hope among all the people. Black, white, Hispanic, Asian. And a note among Hispanics, because Hispanic is not a race, it's an ethnicity, like if Irish or German or French. But in our society it has been misleaded, because you have Hispanic that are white with blue eyes and green eyes, and you have Hispanic that are black, and you have Hispanic that are mulatto. So in reality, it's a mistake in our society to label Hispanic like if it's a race, even by high-ranking leaders, even congressional leaders. But it's a mistake that I will engage in more detail in another podcast in the future. He will restore hope among all the people in the United States, and it's possible to the whole world. But before I let you guys go, I want to make a note. Joe Biden is exiting the power, the throne of the presidency of the United States. But he's not leaving without a fight. While he was in the G20 meeting in Brazil this weekend, he did something that nobody was expecting. He gave Zelensky, the president of Ukraine, the authorization of use long-range missiles from Ukraine to Russia. Big mistake to create problems to the incoming Donald Trump administration. Even the National Security Advisor of Donald Trump, or the nominated National Security Advisor, complained that he was not consulted prior to make that decision. And in his own right, the Biden administration betrayed the American people, because he's provoking a situation with Russia that we don't have business, by allowing Zelensky to attack Moscow or Russia. Can provoke a retaliation from Russia with nuclear bombs that will not only be launched targeting Ukraine, but it could be targeting NATO, and it could be targeting the United States. This is the legacy of Joe Biden. And if we have to engage in a third world war, read my lips, Joe Biden, it's the legacy of Joe Biden for the last month and a half left in his administration to turn on the trigger of the possible Third World War. I hope the Lord will stop and prevent President Putin to go any further, but he already made a new doctrine that he doesn't take out of the table the use of nuclear weapon if he wants it. Regardless of that, I have another clip, but I don't have the time to engage in that. But I want you to look, because there is the ambassador of Russia said that Russia doesn't want to go to war, much less in a nuclear war. But Russia has been pushed against the wall time and time and time. This must stop. Bless you all. Thank you for listening. If you like it, push the button of subscribe and the thumbs up. Has been a long clip that I was not expecting, but it all worth it. God bless you all. God bless our children. God bless our president. And God bless the United States of America. Thank you very much, you all.